Hey guys, Shadow here, and in this video I'll walk you through my solo fight against Pangar. I'll advise you on what gear to use for the fight to make it easier for you. I'll talk about his abilities, how to deal with them, mention any bugs, give you tips and tricks, as well as share my overall opinion on the encounter and my strategy for killing him. Please remember to thumbs up this video if you have liked it, found it useful, or you have learned something from it. Comment on it if you have something to say or give out criticism towards me. Share it as you see fit, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitch for more Dauntless content. Pangar is the nightmare from tier 4 for teamfights and solo players alike, and he's also the best behemoth to learn how to boop properly. Due to the new updated armors and weapons, however, the fight is a lot more manageable and easier than pre-patch. So for the people who are just starting out, and especially those who will be joining us in open beta, you're going to have a less of a nightmare than most of us had during the closed beta. Pangar is the second behemoth you're sent to face off in tier 4. Compared to Naizaga, he's a lot tougher, and all of his abilities deal tons of damage, especially if he's enraged or in ether mode. I personally consider him the toughest behemoth in tier 4 based on his mechanics entirely and not on anything else. But that does not make him impossible to kill, and you should be positive about the fight, especially if you're going to do it solo, since it is easier to kill him alone than with a group. Unless, however, your group is pretty experienced with him or they are geared with tier 5 or tier 6 items. Pangar is a frost behemoth, and as such he has a resistance towards frost and a weakness towards blaze. Firstly, I advise everyone going against Pangar to not even think of using the Naizaga armor, even though it has the best armor rating. As mentioned in my Naizaga solo video, the armor from Naizaga reduces your frost resistance, and you're going to need as much of that as possible. Pangar deals a lot of damage by default, let alone with reduced resistance. Best option to use is a fully upgraded Scarab gear, which will give you some resistance against frost and an average armor rating. It is obvious that the weapons of choice would be Ember main or Charak ones, since he is weak to blaze, but luckily with the new weapon bonuses and different effects, the new Naizaga weapons are also a game changer and a good option against him. The shock effect is especially effective against Pangar, since you want him to be down on the ground for as long as possible. My advice is to go either Naizaga or Ember main. The choice is yours, although if you max out the Naizaga weapon, it will outscale the Ember main one in every way. Regarding what type of weapon to use, you have two choices if you're playing my style. Option 1 is the trusty old sword, with which you can see I dealt with him easily without much hassle. Options 2 is the hammer, with which you will need to learn how to boop him. I will not be explaining in this video how to boop him with the hammer, but you can check my old solo kill video as well as my abilities guide Pangar video on advice on how to do this and see some footage of me. In my last solo kill I did it with the hammer. If you're good with the hammer and can boop perfectly, go for it. That used to be the best strategy against him before the shock weapons started doing their new stagger effect. The problem lies in the fact that one wrong boop and a huge chunk of HP will go down from your pool. As with my other videos, if you're good with any of the other weapons, use them. What works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, and vice versa, but I can at least show you how it worked for me and help you do it the same way. Regarding his abilities, for everyone new and old, Pangar did not receive any changes. He shares a model with the Gnasher and some abilities overlap. He does a tail swipe similar to the Gnasher, with the exception that he deals damage when it swipes and when it returns back. So if you're in the tail range, remember to roll and evade twice. When he tail swipes, the safest spot is next to his head or in front of his legs. He has a stomp attack with his leg and a back kick attack. Both are easy to see when coming, and they are easy to avoid by moving or rolling to the outer side of the opposing leg. And the final ability similar to the Gnasher is his tail slam, which is done the same way as the Gnasher and can easily be evaded with sprinting to the side of his target direction. If you're not sure about the hit radius, however, rolling is also an option. Pangar has a charge for which I would advise people to evade by rolling into him, since from experience I have seen that rolling to the side is either based on luck if you would evade it, or you would have to fast roll twice. His all-star ability is his annoying roll. This is the ability that teaches all hammer users how to properly boop. You either roll into him once he's near you and evade it, or you boop him with the hammer. Do take care if you're trying to outrange him with sprinting or you're just far away. In that scenario, he will also do a tail slam at the end of the roll. During this ability, if you have a chance to interrupt him in some way without getting hit and damaged, then do it. Booping him is extra free damage time, and you need it, trust me. Pangar has an ether mode and an enrage mode, and they often happen at the same time. He will deal damage when he goes into his enrage mode as well as when going out. He will also do a second tail swipe, which is a full 360 degrees and sometimes requires 2 rolls to evade. Pangar enters ether mode by growing ice all over his body as well as creating a few icebergs around him, which he then follows to destroy with his tail. Stay near his head and front side of his legs if you do not want to get damaged by the tail. This animation is still a little bugged and sometimes he does not create the icebergs at all, so have that in mind and be glad that you're lucky, because that means that when he rolls he will also not create icebergs, at least for this ether mode activation. His ether mode will cause him to spawn icebergs as well as cause most of his abilities to create small snowstorms on the ground, which will reduce movement speed while in them, so pay attention. You can delay his ether mode or completely kill him without going into one by attacking the blue glowing scales on his body. This, however, is very hard to also, but not impossible. The fight is hard to get used to, but after a couple of times you'll get the hang of it. For me, there are 2 strategies to go about killing him solo. The first one, which relies on using a shock weapon, is done by sticking close to him and playing it safe. If you're using a sword, try to stick to 2 free attacks, then evading, since he will most likely alternate attacking you with his legs and add a tail swipe or 2 at some point. Keep a lookout for his enrage and the 360 degrees tail swipe. In this video I took this strategy because I was testing how good the shock weapons were, and as you can see he became shock staggered very often, giving me a chance to nuke him and get more loot. I would advise this strategy with the fast weapons, which are the sword, chain blades and warpike. The second strategy is based around using a hammer and staying far away from him to force him to always roll. Going for this approach, however, means that you will need to be able to boop him 9 out of 10 of his rolls, if not every single one of them. The reason is that one wrong boop and a lot of health will disappear from your health pool. But if you do it correctly, most of the time Pangar will be down and you will have a safe free time to deal massive damage to him as well as stagger him. If you combine this by using a shock hammer, you will have the most amount of save time by causing stagger, shock stagger and booping. But as I mentioned in the beginning, it all relies on your hammer skills. I'm not mentioning axe players because I think that this fight is the hardest with the axe for new players. Veterans can probably do it in the blink of an eye, but if you start as an axe player, you will definitely struggle in this solo. I'm not saying don't try to kill him with an axe, but rather to brace yourself with more patience and time than with the other weapons. Now, as you will see in this video, you can kill him with all parts of his body destroyed and looted. You can destroy his head, 2 legs and tail, and you can also destroy both of his arms for extra staggering, but they will however not drop any loot. All parts will drop Pangar high, excluding the arms. The head has a chance to drop a frosty tooth and a rare chance to drop a power incisor. His legs have a chance to drop a frost plate and a rare chance to drop a fractal ice talon. And finally, the tail has only a chance to drop a severe tail plate. If you follow either of my strategies, you can easily kill him with all body parts destroyed and looted. The weapons from Pangar have frost damage added to them, and they also have Ether Hunter stat to them. The frost element will, upon stacking enough, cause the behemoth to be frozen and slow down his movement and ability speed, which gives you more time to deal damage or evade attacks. Ether Hunter will increase the damage you deal to Ether Charge Behemoths by 10% per point. This bonus is for all the Pangar weapons, and they all have 248 base damage against neutral targets, 288 damage against weak to frost targets, and 228 against resistant to frost damage. The boots and chest from Pangar will give you endurance stat, while the helmet and gloves will give you a knockout king stat. Endurance increases your maximum stamina by 5 per point, knockout king increases your stagger damage by 5% per point. Pangar's lantern will restore 25% of your maximum stamina on clicking, and on hold clicking it will create a frost pillar which will deal 940 frost damage over 12 seconds to all nearby behemoths. From personal experience, I highly suggest crafting and upgrading as much of his armor as possible after you kill him. Firstly, to make it easier to farm him, afterwards secondly, you're going to need it for facing his heroic version a little bit later in the game. Pangar hits like a tank, and Frostbank Pangar hits like a nuclear warhead, so trust me on that one, and get the armor maxed out first. You can deal with Hylian, who is up next alongside Stormclaw, by using your Nizaga weapon again, and the Scribe weapon will have 8 damage less than a base level Pangar weapon, so you can use it also against Hylian. But if you're not going to stay on Pangar and just pass him, you can opt in for getting the weapon from him first, which I highly advise you not to. As I just mentioned, the behemoths coming up next are Hylian and Stormclaw. You get both their quests at the same time, and you can choose which one to kill first. Stormclaw is a lot easier than Hylian, but you will need them both to unlock Karabakh and the heroic Behemoths, so brace yourself from the flames of hell. This is everything regarding Pangar and his encounter. I hope that everyone has an easy and fast battle with him, and I also hope you enjoy the rest of my fight against him. Please remember to thumbs up this video if you have liked it, found it useful, or it helped you in some other way. Comment on it if you have something to say, or give out any criticism towards me. Share it as you see fit, and finally do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more Dauntless content.